Have you ever stopped to think that the reality you live in can be shaped by your own imagination? What if I told you that everything you believe, feel, and imagine has the power to completely transform your life? Today, we have a unique opportunity to dive into the teachings of one of the greatest masters of the human mind, Neville Goddard. In a fascinating conversation, Neville reveals how we can use the power of imagination to overcome limiting beliefs, transform our reality, and live a full and abundant life. Want to know how to break the chains of circumstances and create the future of your dreams? Stay with us and discover profound secrets about the mind, the Bible, and the power you have to change everything around you. Get ready for an interview that will challenge your beliefs and open new paths to success and fulfillment. Don't miss it. Hello, Neville. It's an honor to have you here with us. I'm eager to learn more about your teachings. I find everything you teach fascinating.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here and also pleased to know that my teachings are meaningful to you.
Let's start by talking about the essence of your teachings. How would you describe the main message you want to convey to people?
The essence of my teachings lies in the idea that human imagination is God in action. The reality we experience is a direct reflection of the images we hold in our minds. If you learn to control your thoughts and visualizations, you can create the life you want. In short, we are creators of our own reality.
Many people struggle to believe this. How can someone truly accept that their imagination is the creative power of their reality?
Acceptance comes through direct experience. I always encourage people to test this for themselves. Start with something simple. Visualize a desired scenario. See yourself at the end of that journey, feeling that it's already real. Repeat this until your imagination becomes an inner conviction. Over time, you will see that your life begins to change according to those mental images.
What would you say to those who doubt their ability to create the reality they want?
Doubt is natural at first because we've been conditioned to believe that the external world controls our lives. But I would say, start small. Choose something you want. That seems achievable. Focus on the feeling of already having it in your mind. When you see the first results, your doubt will be replaced by faith.
You talk a lot about the law of assumption. Can you explain better what that means and how it works?
Of course. The law of assumption is simple. What you assume to be true in your mind will eventually manifest in your physical reality. No matter what you see in the external world right now, what matters is what you believe internally. If you act as if you're already the person you want to be and sustain that belief, the universe will rearrange circumstances to make it real.
This idea of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is very powerful, but it seems challenging. How can we effectively cultivate that feeling?
The key is constant practice. Every night, before sleeping, enter a relaxed state and start visualizing what you want. Imagine the end of your desire fulfilled. Feel the emotion you would have if it were already true. Make it a habit. The emotional repetition of this experience within you is what will bring the manifestation into your world.
Many people say they understand your teachings, but when it comes to practice, they can't change their realities. They are overwhelmed with debt, and after visualizing what they want, they return to their lives and are faced with the debt again. How do you view this situation?
This is an issue many people face, and I completely understand the frustration of feeling that the teachings make sense in theory, but in practice, the external reality seems unchanged. What happens is that, often, people do their visualizations, but then immediately allow the external world, with its debts, problems, and limitations, to dictate again what they believe to be true. The biggest challenge here is maintaining faith in the process, even in the face of negative circumstance. When you visualize what you desire, whether financial freedom, prosperity, or peace, you are planting the seed. However, if right after this practice, you return to a state of worry, fear, or doubt, because of the debts you still see in the physical world, it's like pulling the seed out before it has a chance to grow. The key is persistence and consistency. You cannot be shaken by temporary appearances. What you see now in the physical world is the reflection of your past beliefs and feelings. This does not mean that your future has to be the same, But to change the future, you must sustain the new inner vision, regardless of what your eyes see in the present. When you visualize and feel the desire as already fulfilled, it's essential to live in that feeling of already having. Even if the debts are still there, you must train your mind not to identify with them. Don't let them define who you are. Every time a feeling of despair or worry arises, you need to consciously return to the image of what you desire and feel again that you have already achieved it. True transformation comes when you start to feel more comfortable with the inner vision than with the external evidence. Debts, problems, and challenges in the physical world are temporary. The power of imagination, when sustained with faith and feeling, is what truly controls the future. But remember, it's a process and requires constant practice. That's why I encourage people to persist. Even if external appearances don't seem to change immediately, keep imagining and feeling the life you want. If you hold on to that conviction, the external world will inevitably start to reflect this new reality.
You often mention the state of drowsiness as an important moment for visualization. Why is that?
The state of drowsiness, that moment when you're about to fall asleep, is when the conscious mind begins to relax and the subconscious mind becomes more receptive. It's at that moment that we can most effectively implant our imaginations and beliefs. Subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. It simply accepts what you give it in that state.
Many fear that by focusing on their desires they might be selfish. What would you say about that?
True creation is never selfish, as long as you don't wish harm to anyone. When you align with what you truly desire from the heart, you are in harmony with your true essence, which is love. And by fulfilling your own desires, you become a fuller person, capable of sharing that state of joy with others.
What role do emotions play in this process of conscious creation?
Emotions are fundamental. They are the glue that holds your visualizations in the subconscious. If you visualize something without emotion, it's like planting a seed without nutrients. Emotions, especially feelings of gratitude and joy, are what nourish your creations and bring them into reality.
Are you enjoying the interview? Don't forget to leave a like. This will strengthen the channel, helping us bring more content like this. Neville, what power do TV shows, movies, and even social media have over our reality?
This is a very important point. TV shows, movies, and social media can have a profound impact on our reality, because everything we consume regularly influences our mental and emotional state. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is just an image on a screen. If you constantly expose yourself to content that promotes fear, scarcity, or negativity, those feelings end up taking root in your mind and will eventually manifest in your life. On the other hand, if you use these mediums to feed your mind with images of success, joy, and abundance, that too will be reflected in your reality. The key is being selective about what you allow into your consciousness. Every image and message you consume has the potential to shape your perception and, consequently, your life experience. I always say, you must be the guardian of your own mind. Just like you choose what to plant in a garden, carefully choose what you feed your mind, because that will become your reality.
Many people struggle with limiting beliefs. How do you suggest someone overcome these beliefs?
The best way to overcome limiting beliefs is by replacing those negative inner images with positive ones and sustaining them until the new beliefs become stronger. Don't fight against your old beliefs. Just focus on creating new ones through the conscious repetition of visualizations that reflect what you truly desire.
How can someone who was raised with limiting beliefs, such as, if you're born poor, you'll die poor, break free from these beliefs and completely change their reality? Since the way we were raised is ingrained in our subconscious as truth, could you explain a bit more?
This is a very relevant and profound question, because many of us grow up surrounded by limiting beliefs that seem inescapable. And you hear phrases like, if you're born poor, you'll die poor, or life is hard and full of difficulties from a young age. These ideas are implanted repeatedly in your subconscious and start to seem like unquestionable truths. However, these beliefs are not absolute reality. They are merely thoughts you've accepted as true. To break these beliefs and change your reality, First step is becoming aware that the creative power lies within you, not in the circumstances you were born into. External circumstances are the reflection of the mental images we carry over time. What you believe about yourself and the world defines your experience. The key is reprogramming your subconscious. You can start by questioning these limiting beliefs. Ask yourself, is this really a universal truth, or just something I accepted without thinking? Once you realize these beliefs are just ideas and not immutable laws, you begin to weaken them. The next step is to replace those limiting beliefs with new images and feeling. Subconscious doesn't resist change when you feed it new ideas repeatedly. Visualize yourself in a situation of abundance, living the life you desire as if it were already a reality. Practice this daily, especially before sleep, during the state of drowsiness when the subconscious is more receptive. Moreover, engage emotionally with these new images. The feeling of already having what you desire is what will imprint these new ideas into your subconscious. It's not just about positive thinking, but about feeling that you are already the prosperous and successful person you wish to be. This repeated feeling will eventually replace the old beliefs, and you'll see changes in your reality. Even if it seems difficult at first, with persistence, these new images and feelings will become stronger than the old beliefs. The subconscious will begin to reflect these new ideas, and the external world will adjust in line with this new vision.
Do you believe that we all have a predetermined destiny? Or are we completely free to create our own reality?
I believe we are free creators. There is no fixed destiny except for the one we create ourselves. What we live now is the result of our past imaginations, but we can change our future at any time by changing what we hold in our minds.
Financial difficulties are at the top of many people's concerns. Can you give some advice for those facing this problem?
Financial difficulties are often sustained by beliefs of scarcity. The first thing is to stop identifying with lack. Start visualizing abundance, not as something distant, but as something already present in your life. See yourself living in comfort and prosperity, feeling the emotion of already having what you desire.
What about those situations where external circumstances seem completely contrary to what we are trying to create?
External circumstances are the result of past imaginations. If they don't align with what you desire now, persist in your new vision, even if the external world says otherwise. Eventually, the physical world has to bend to your internal beliefs, as long as you don't give up.
How can we deal with fear or anxiety about the future?
Fear comes from negative imagination about the future. To combat it, you need to replace those mental images with ones that reflect security, peace, and success. If you dedicate yourself to visualizing a desired future, fear and anxiety will gradually be replaced by confidence.
What would you say to those who feel stuck in their current situation?
No one is truly stuck. The feeling of being stuck is only a reflection of an internal belief. If you can change that belief, you will change your situation. Turn inward and begin to visualize a new reality. No matter how real your prison seems, key lies in your imagination.
What would be the first step for someone who wants to start applying your teachings in practice?
The first step is awareness. Observe what you are imagining and feeling daily. Many people live on autopilot, creating unconsciously. Start choosing deliberately what you visualize and feel. Then begin the practice of nightly visualizations, seeing yourself at the end of your desired outcome.
Is there a specific daily practice you would recommend for someone who wants to create deep changes in their life?
Yes. I would recommend the daily practice of revision. Before going to sleep, review your day in your mind, and any situation that didn't go as you wanted, revise it as if it had happened the way you desired. This helps mold your mind to always align with what you truly want to experience.
Forgiveness is a central theme in many of your teachings. Why is it so important?
Forgiveness is vital because it frees you from the emotional chains that tie you to the past. When you don't forgive, you hold on to a negative image inside yourself, and that image influences what you create in the future. Forgiving is clearing the internal field so that you can imagine and create more freely.
How does the concept of I am connect to the creation of reality?
I am is the essence of everything. When you say I am, you are affirming your identity. What you add after those words determines your experience. If you affirm, "I am prosperous," you are identifying with prosperity, and the world will mold itself to that belief. Everything starts with the recognition of who you are.
What is the biggest misconception people have about your teachings?
One of the biggest misconceptions is thinking that all of this is just positive thinking. It's not about thinking positive, but about assuming the state of being that you want to experience. It's living in the feeling of already having what you desire, even if the external evidence hasn't appeared yet.
You've mentioned before that there is no one to change but yourself. What does that mean exactly?
It means that the external world is merely a reflection of your internal state. Often, we try to change other people or circumstances, but true change begins within us. When you change the vision you have of yourself and the situations around you, the world responds accordingly.
Neville, is your entire theory based on the universal law of mentalism?
Yes, you could say that my teachings are strongly aligned with the principle of mentalism, which is one of the universal laws. Mentalism asserts that the universe is mental, meaning that everything we experience in the external world is a projection of the mind. The reality we see and live is shaped by the images, thoughts, and beliefs we sustain internally. This idea is at the core of my teachings, especially in the law of assumption, which states that whatever you assume to be true in your mind will manifest in your life. In essence, everything begins in the mind. The physical world is nothing more than a reflection of the internal activity of consciousness. When you understand that the mind is the source of all experiences, you realize that you have the power to change your reality by changing your thoughts and feelings. The principle of mentalism is exactly that. Recognition that we are creators of our own reality through our mind. By consciously assuming the mental state we desire, we mold the reality around us to reflect this new inner vision. So yes, my teachings can be seen as a practical expression of this universal law. I show people that by taking control of their imagination and feelings, they can completely transform their lives, because what we hold in our minds with conviction becomes our experience.
Neville, how did you acquire so much knowledge?
My journey of self-discovery and understanding of the laws of the mind and imagination was gradual and intense. From a young age, I was always curious about the meaning of life and the purpose of our existence. My spiritual path began to intensify when I met a man named Abdullah, a mystic who became my mentor. He taught me the basics of metaphysics, the Bible as a symbolic book, and how imagination is the true source of creative power. It was Abdullah who showed me the deep relationship between what we believe internally and what we experience externally. He insisted on something that at first was hard to accept, that the external world is nothing more than a reflection of our mental states. As I practiced these teachings and saw concrete results in my own life, my understanding grew. Additionally, I have always been a dedicated student of the Bible, but with a different perspective. I didn't see it as a literal account of historical events, but as a spiritual allegory. Each character, each story, represents a state of consciousness we go through. This new reading of the Bible helped me see the world and myself in a much more expansive way. I also came to this knowledge through practice. Nothing I teach is purely theoretical. I have tested everything in my own life, and the results confirmed the truth of these laws. When you see the results happening repeatedly, there is no denying the power of imagination and assumption. Thus, my knowledge came from a mix of spiritual guidance, deep study, and most importantly, personal practice. I learned that life is a mirror of the mind, and when we change internally, the external world must change to reflect them.
You interpret the Bible differently. Can you explain your view of the scriptures?
Yes, my interpretation of the Bible is quite different from that traditionally taught in churches or religious institutions. For me, the Bible is not a literal history book, or a chronology of external events that happened in ancient times. Instead, I see the scriptures as a great psychological drama, a symbolic manual of the human mind and the process of conscious creation. Every character, every event described in the Bible represents a state of consciousness that we all experience at some point. Adam, Eve, Cain, Abraham, Moses, Jesus. These are not historical figures, but symbols of aspects of the human mind and spirit. They reflect our internal journey of self-discovery and spiritual transformation. For example, the Exodus is not about the physical liberation of a people from a land, but about the soul's liberation from the bondage of limiting beliefs. The promised land Moses seeks is not a physical territory, but the state of consciousness where you live in harmony with your realized imagination. When the Bible speaks of resurrection, it is not referring to a future event at some final judgment, but rather to the awakening of our own consciousness to the power we have within. The realization that we are the Christ, creative power within each of us. The key to understanding the Scriptures, in my view, is to read everything as an allegory for the internal processes each of us goes through. When you read about the crucifixion of Jesus, for example, this is not about a historical event that took place in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. It symbolizes the act of abandoning your old identity, your limiting beliefs, and assuming the new identity, the new life, which you create in your imagination. Jesus represents the I Am, the divine essence within each of us, and his resurrection is the awakening to the fact that we are the creators of our own reality. Therefore, the Bible for me is a tool for teaching the power of consciousness and imagination. It contains profound spiritual truths about how we can transform our lives if we understand that everything begins within us. When we apply the principles taught in the Scriptures symbolically, we realize that we are continually creating and recreating our reality based on the states of consciousness we choose to inhabit.
Were these biblical teachings also passed on to you by Abdullah?
Yes, many of these teachings about the symbolic interpretation of the Bible were transmitted to me by Abdullah. He was an essential mentor on my spiritual journey. Abdullah showed me that the Bible was not a literal history book, but a deeply symbolic text that revealed the internal truths of the mind and creation. He always emphasized that to truly understand the Scriptures, one must read each passage with the understanding that everything is a metaphor for the states of consciousness we experience. It was Abdullah who first made me see that the biblical characters represented aspects of the human psyche, and that each event described symbolized an internal process of transformation. He taught me to look beyond the words and understand that the Bible describes the soul's journey from limitation, freedom, ignorance, to spiritual awakening. This new way of seeing the Scriptures deeply impacted me because it gave me a practical understanding of how to apply these teachings to my own life. Abdullah also taught me that the I Am mentioned in the Bible, especially in the words of Jesus, such as I am the way, the truth, and the life, refers to the creative power within each of us. This awareness of I Am is the true divine essence, and whatever we affirm after I Am is what shapes our reality. He showed me that by consciously assuming states of being and feeling as if we had already realized our desires, we are in fact using God's creative power, which is our own imagination. So, I can say that Abdullah was a fundamental guide in my understanding of the Scriptures. He opened my eyes to the true spiritual depth contained in the Bible, not as a book of moral rules or literal stories, but as a practical tool for understanding and mastering the mind and creation. From this teaching, I was able to develop my own practice and share this vision with others, helping them transform their lives through the understanding of the power of consciousness and imagination.
Who was Abdullah?
Abdullah was an Ethiopian mystic who became my spiritual mentor early in my journey. I met him in New York in the 1930s, and he played a fundamental role in transforming my life and understanding the mysteries of the mind and the Bible. Abdullah was a profoundly wise man, knowledgeable in the Scriptures, both the Bible and other spiritual traditions, and he had a practical and direct approach to the power of imagination and consciousness. He taught me that the reality we experience is created from our states of consciousness, and that we can completely alter our circumstances by changing what we believe to be true about ourselves and the world. Abdullah was the one who first taught me the true interpretation of the Bible as a symbolic text, not a literal one, showing that each story and character represents a state of consciousness or a lesson about the creation of reality. A striking example of the impact of his teachings was when, at a moment of difficulty, I wanted to return to Barbados, my homeland, had no money for the trip. Abdullah simply told me to imagine that I was already there, that I had already made the journey, and was living as if that were a fact. When I mentioned the lack of resources, he firmly responded that I was already in Barbados and that if I continued to imagine myself there, the way would open. And indeed, shortly after, I received the money I needed for the trip without making any conscious effort toward it. This kind of direct and practical teaching was characteristic of Abdullah. He didn't just talk about the theory of the mind's power, he constantly encouraged me to practice it and firmly believe in the power of my imagination. He was a man who lived his teachings, and his presence in my life was a turning point, because he helped me realize that the creative power is within us, and that the external world is only a reflection of what we hold in our minds and hearts. Abdullah didn't seek fame or recognition. He was a teacher who lived quietly, sharing his wisdom with those ready to learn. His influence shaped the path I followed and the work I developed to share these principles with others around the world.
Abdullah was your mentor, and even today you are a mentor to many people, even those who never met you. Did you ever imagine this would happen?
Honestly, I never imagined that my teachings would spread so widely and impact so many lives, even after my physical departure. When I began my journey, I was more focused on understanding myself and applying these principles to my own life. I didn't have grand aspirations to become a mentor or an influential figure for so many people. My priority was always to share what I had learned and experienced, especially because I saw the transformative results these teachings had in my life. I knew that if these principles could work for me, they could work for anyone. The power of imagination, the law of assumption, and the proper understanding of the scriptures are universal. They don't belong to an exclusive group or a specific time period. The truth is, I had no control over how far my teachings would reach. All I did was teach what I deeply believed in, what I had personally experienced. The fact that so many people, even today, find inspiration and apply these principles in their lives fills me with gratitude. It's proof of the power of these teachings, not of me as an individual, but of the universal power of the mind and imagination. This also shows that the spiritual truths I've shared are timeless. They transcend any limitation of time or space because they deal with the essential nature of the human being and their relationship to reality. Seeing that my message continues to resonate with so many people makes me believe even more in the importance of taking control of the mind and consciously creating the reality we desire. So, to answer your question, no, I didn't imagine this. But I'm deeply honored and grateful to know that my teachings continue to help others free themselves from limiting beliefs and recognize the infinite power within each of us. This only reinforces the truth I've always defended. We are all creators of our reality, and when we awaken to this fact, we can transform our lives in unimaginable ways.
To conclude, what final advice would you give to someone who wants to take control of their life through imagination?
My final advice would be, trust fully in the power you have within yourself. Your imagination is God in action. What you imagine with conviction, you create. Therefore, be disciplined with your thoughts and imaginations, and never underestimate the power of feeling what you desire as already accomplished. With this practice, the world around you will transform.
Thank you so much, Neville, for sharing your wisdom and insights with us today. I'm sure many people will feel inspired to put these teachings into practice.
It was a pleasure to be here. Remember, everything you need is within you.
I hope you enjoyed the interview. Please leave a like and follow Resenha Historica for more content like this.